David, wake up.
What's going on, guys? I just sat down with Claire Thomas from the UK, and she's a nutritional therapist. And, she has a really powerful story to share with you guys. And, it was a really motivational, inspirational one. How God healed her from her sickness. Tune in and, also learn some nutritional facts and diets and plans and so forth. All right, tune in. Peace. What's going on, guys? I have another one. We're here with Claire Thomas, and she's from the UK. And she has a really powerful story to share today. And hopefully it motivates and inspires somebody today that's listening. And yeah, go ahead. If you want to, start off with sharing your story, how
Sure.
God, you know, healed you
Mhm.
from, what you were going through.
Sure. Well, thank you for having me. So yeah, my story is that I developed something called chronic fatigue syndrome. Some of you may also know it as ME, and it's quite an interesting condition. There's no cure for it as yet that is recognizable. And basically, it's if you've ever had flu and when you've got that complete exhaustion and everything feels really heavy and sluggish and it's a struggle. That's what chronic fatigue is. But instead of it being because you've got flu, it's like all the time. And it's a very challenging condition to live with. So I was a children's nurse in intensive care when I developed chronic fatigue syndrome. So I was working a lot of shifts, night shifts. And they think for me that I got swine flu, which is similar to COVID, and it triggered chronic fatigue syndrome. It took quite a long time to get diagnosed. I was back and forth to the doctor a lot because nobody could figure out what was happening. And so I remember being diagnosed and just being like relieved that somebody could tell me what was going on, because I think when you live with health issues and nobody really knows what's going on, it can be quite confusing. But then that sort of relief turned into, oh, wait a second, there's very little that can be done for this condition. And I remember sitting in a GP surgery, like a doctor's surgery, and they said to me, well, you can't go back to shift work, because at this point I was off work, sick, because I couldn't work at that point. They're like, you're not going to go back to your career, you're not going to go back to intensive care nursing, you won't ever recover, and that's it. And I just remember feeling devastated, and just remember feeling like, well, I know as a Christian God heals, right? So God will heal me, but sometimes in the God doesn't heal us how we expect. There are the stories where people get healed straight away, and there are the stories, of the miraculous, but sometimes the healing can take years. And actually it was years until I was healed from chronic fatigue, and I'm so thankful that I am healed. But in that time, I was left thinking, well, what do I do now? I'm quite a proactive individual, and as a nurse, you would think, well, I know how to look after myself, but actually, I don't think I knew as much as I needed to know. And a friend gave me a book actually by an American author that looked at chronic fatigue syndrome, and in it, he detailed out the power of good nutrition, you know, the right mindset, as well as faith, combining that all together, the power that can have on the body and mind, and how that can improve circumstances. So I started putting these principles into practice, but it was another few years until I felt God. I was at a Christian conference and I really felt God say, you're healed now. Um, that was 2018. So I got diagnosed in 2012. So it was another 6 years before I was what I would say officially, like, so now if anyone says, oh, you've got chronic fatigue, I'm like, no, I'm healed, that's gone. But yeah, it took a few, even when like I felt God say you're healed, it still took a little while to sort of feel that yes, I am healed. Because with fatigue, when you're so exhausted, I think it's a really difficult one to move past from. But yeah.
Wow, wow, that's good. That's good. That's very powerful story. And sometimes we just gotta grab what God tells us, and by faith receive it.
Mm-hmm.
Even it
Yeah.
might not be in the natural yet, but in the and the spiritual side, it's already done. So
Definitely.
we just gotta
Yeah.
receive it. And, I want to ask as well, where did the faith come from to grab on to, what God was telling you?
Yeah, it's a good question. I was reflecting on sort of on that. And I think there were moments where it was like, will God ever do this? But I think for me, I became a Christian at 21. Actually, Canada was is part of my faith story, conversion story. I don't know what you want to call it. So I became a Christian. I went to a church service, very random church service, but I just had this sense of peace and this sense I'd come home. And that summer, I happened to go to Toronto and work at Sick Kids on an elective. And it was the first time I'd been away by myself. And I suddenly looked at my life and went, do you know what? I can't do this anymore. I was quite depressed. I really struggled with my who I was, the sense of like my identity. And I just thought, I remember walking through this park in Toronto. Don't ask me which one, but I just remember walking through it and just knowing that I needed to choose God. And so I chose God. And I think for me, because life without God was, I call it my dark years. It was really dark. And like I didn't know who I was. I was looking for my sense of love and identity in the wrong places, well, just the usual places. And actually finding God gave me that sort of hope and love and like, yes, I was created. I belonged to my heavenly Father. And so even in the darkest points that were through chronic fatigue, and since, I've had other health issues since, the thing I keep coming back to is life with God, as hard as it is better than life without God. And I think I cling to that, even when it's so hard and I can't see a way forward. I remember actually this is a better place to be because I have God and He's with me. And even if I don't feel Him on occasions, He is always with me. And I think it's that constant being able to positively pick your Bible up and look at, okay, it says that He will never leave me and forsake me. He says, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. He says, be strong and courageous, for I am always with you. And I think knowing He is always with me kept me going, kept me believing that even if I don't see the healing, even if the healing comes when I go to heaven, for example, then that's okay because I have God. I mean, I'm not saying I was always that positive of like this is okay, but do you know what I mean? It's like when you think of the bigger picture, it can be easier to manage.
Um, my next question is, does faith and living healthy go hand in hand? Because I know, God can heal you,
Yeah.
and at the same time, He can tell you, cut this out, cut
Mm-hmm.
this bad food out, so you don't get into that type of sickness again. All
Sure.
right. And people don't, and people get sick again, and they try to blame God. Why is my prayer not working? Why is this
Mm-hmm.
happening? Right. So does the healthy lifestyle and faith, does it go hand in hand?
I believe so. I believe that, whilst our bodies are I call them imperfectly perfect, they are a gift from God. And I think it's about recognizing that our bodies need to be fueled in the right way. And when they're not fueled in the right way, and food is information, basically, food, it fuels us, it gives our bodies information. And when we're not living that sort of healthy lifestyle, you could almost say, are we honoring God with the gift that He gave us? Because He's given us these bodies. I think the body is an interesting one. When people think about faith, they think about, well, there's the spirit and my heart, and I've got to be right before God. But actually, I think, well, our bodies are a vessel that God gave us these bodies to look after, like we look after the planet, like we look after animals, like other people. I think we still need to look after our own bodies. And when we look after our own bodies, we're able to look after other people in a better way. Because if let me ask you this. So if you think of a car, and if you don't, I don't know how it works in Canada, but in the UK, we have to get our car MOT'd every year. We have to go to the garage, be checked over. And I also get a service. So I make sure, the brakes are checked, the oil's been changed. And if I don't do that, then my car's not going to work as effectively. And if my car's not working effectively, I can't get to A to B in the way that I want. I can't get to work. I can't go see my friends. I can't get to church because I live in a little village. Okay, so think of your body as a car. If you don't look after it properly and you're not putting in the right oil, the right tires, for example, or you're not putting in the right fuel mostly, you're not going to be able to go as far and do what you want. You're not going to be able to turn up for your friends and family in the same way. Perhaps you're not able to socialize in the way you want to. You're not able to be active in the way you want to, like run after your kids, for example. This is very much about basketball, isn't it? You won't be able to turn up on the basketball court in the way that you want to because you don't have the energy. You're sluggish, you're slumped, you're struggling to get through the day. So actually, when you look at your body, is actually this is important. And when I feed it, and also mentally, if you think there's this massive amount of evidence coming out now about our gut being our second brain and the impact of gut health on brain health. And actually, we're seeing a lot of mental health conditions, not all of them. This isn't about food cures everything, because there are occasions where it is appropriate to take medication. But actually, when we improve our health, our mental health also improves. So therefore, we're able to show up better for our friends and family, better, connect better with God. And I feel like it's, mind, body, and spirit that we're looking at. So if we look after all of them, then we're honoring what God has given us.
Yeah, those are good points right there. Because yeah, I mean, if our gut is not healthy, it can affect almost every area of our
Yeah,
body.
yeah, it
Because
does. It does.
the gut kind of controls a lot of things in our body. Um, so how do you stay disciplined and cut away the bad foods? Because we could be, we can easily say, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna go on this diet. Yeah, I'm gonna cut this out." But it takes a certain amount of discipline to actually do it
Yeah.
and just talk about it. You know what I'm saying? So
Sure.
yeah, yeah,
I
speak on
mean,
that.
I've gotten to, I mean, am I perfect all the time? No, I still had, like last night, I had chips for tea, like I still eat foods that aren't beneficial for me. But I live by an 80-20 principle. So for 80% of the time, if I can fuel my body in the right way, the 20% of the time that I don't, my body can cope. But also, I found over the years, like now, I've gotten to a point where because I have been disciplined, like if I don't eat vegetables for a meal, I miss them. I'm like, where's my vegetables? But I would say the best place to start is with the smallest steps, and you've got to make it sustainable. So don't think of this as a diet. Think of this as I'm fueling my body in the right way. And what is the smallest step that I can take today that will result in the biggest amount of change? And sometimes it's as simple as starting with where you're at. So if right now you're like, do you know what? I'm going to really struggle to cut chocolate out of my diet. I'm like, okay, right, well, let's start with what you can do. Could you add in an extra portion of vegetables to your meal, or two extra portions of vegetables to your meal, and build on it? And like, as you start to add in more beneficial foods, what I do find with my clients, especially when you've got like your meals start to become more balanced, they often stop craving the sweet foods, because sometimes the craving for sweet foods can show us that something else is going on. So actually, sometimes it's not about denying yourself, because I think that if you're constant, if I say to my clients, stop eating chocolate, I'm just going to use chocolate as an example, then all they think about is I want to eat chocolate, but I'm not allowed to eat chocolate. So that makes you want it more because you're not allowed it.
Right.
So it's doing what you can. So actually, if it's just saying, look, if you want some chocolate, could you either eat half of what you would normally eat, or could you switch it to dark chocolate? If you really like chips, could you take half the portion, or could you swap it to say something like sweet? Well, they're not actually any healthier, sweet potato fries, to be fair. So perhaps that's a really bad example. But could you just have less? Could you, that instead of having, as many chips as you usually have, put in some broccoli on your plate, because that'll help balance it out. Do you see what I mean? It's start where you're at and add things in and keep pray like and pray for wisdom, pray for, okay, God, what do I need to do? But don't see what you're doing as deprivation or a diet. See it as, my body is awesome, it's a gift from God. What does it need to fuel itself? Because you wouldn't be at the petrol station, or um putting in the wrong petrol to your car, would you? Because that's going to mean it's going to conk out quicker. So just think of your body like a car. Well, it depends how well you look after your car, I guess. But if you look after your car, look after your body.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a very good example. How you look after your car, that's the same thing you can look at your body as well too. Whatever you put in it, that's what's gonna come out. You know what I'm saying? Or
Yeah,
or that's
yeah,
how it's gonna operate.
yeah.
Yeah, okay. What would be the three best ways to live a healthy lifestyle? What do you think? What are the top three?
Oh, three best things to live at healthy lifestyle. So I would say balanced meals, number one.
Hmm.
So balanced meals means meals that are got the right balance of protein, complex carbohydrates. So that's things like brown rice, brown pasta, whole grain bread, sweet potato, and then healthy fats. So, nuts, avocados, olive oil, or extra virgin olive oil, and then vegetables. If you have that, as your meal, like you pick a bit of everything, you're going to stay fuller for longer. You're less likely to find yourself on that, what we call the blood sugar roller coaster, where you have that sort of crash where you're going, I need chocolate and I need it now. You're less likely to experience that, and you're less likely to experience energy slumps, and you're more likely to be able to keep going for longer. You're going to be kept fuller for longer. So having a balanced plate is definitely always my biggest thing that I start with clients. Get them started on that as much as possible. And again, that links back into what I just mentioned about, sometimes it's, if that all feels too complicated, start with something simple, like add in an extra portion of vegetables. If you have a snack, like a piece of fruit, have a small handful of nuts with your piece of fruit, so that it's a bit more balanced. Um, because yeah, again, that'll keep you fuller for longer. Because when we have a balance, so carbohydrates tend to break down quick the first, and then protein and fats take longer to break down in the stomach. So that means that the body has energy, more sustained energy over a period of time. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Um. Oh, sorry.
and also, you know, people are gonna take that. Some people I know, some people are gonna take that advice, but how they cook it as well too, that matters big time. Because you said, oh, potatoes, but some people might fry it and then
Yes,
they lose all the nutrition. So how you cook it as well too matters. Mm.
definitely. I mean, where possible, avoid frying. Occasionally, yeah, that's fine. But where possible, roast or slow cook or steam. That's always kind of the most beneficial way to keep the nutrients in the food.
What about supplements, vitamins, minerals? Do you take that stuff?
I do, yeah. I mean, supplements are an interesting one. Where possible, we would get all of our nutrients from food, but it's not always possible in today's, I think, with the changes in farming practices, soil quality, it's not always possible to get all the nutrients we need. I personally don't recommend supplements without a full health history, because I want to know that, I look at medication, what their client's on, I look at what's needed for them, I look at what they possibly could be depleted in before I recommend supplements, because there's many supplements out there of varying different qualities. And if I'm going to use them, I want to use them in the most beneficial manner. So I would always say, where possible, get your nutrients from food. And if you want to consider a supplement, then go and seek professional support from someone who actually, because a lot of the supplements, if you're just taking them because you're like, oh, well, it said on the TV, if I take this multivitamin, blah, blah. Well, the challenge with that is that we sometimes don't know what else is in the supplements, how good quality they are, actually, are the levels right for you? You might be depleted in something that that multivitamin doesn't cover, for example. Does that make sense?
Right.
So actually, it's worth seeking professional advice when it comes to supplementation to make sure that you've got the right thing for you.
Mm. Okay. Okay. And I forgot to tell everybody that you're your nutritional therapist. I forgot, but
Yes, yeah. That's
uh,
fine.
but you think what you gone through, earlier on in your life, do you think it pushed you to be a nutritional therapist?
Definitely, without a doubt. I was very clear that I was a nurse, I loved nursing. I was going to become sort of what we call an advanced nurse practitioner, which is sort of a higher level nurse. And and things just changed overnight with the diagnosis of chronic fatigue. And I think things very much changed in that I think I started to fall out of love with nursing when I got sick. It was very interesting, but this new desire came about that as I saw the power of better nutrition and better mindset had on me, I just knew that I wanted others to experience that. I wanted other people to not feel stuck, to not feel that there was no hope, to feel that, oh, nothing's ever going to change. And there was lots of opportunities to study nutrition, but nothing ever sort of felt right. And after I got healed, so I was healed in 2018, a year later, and something came about where I was still nursing at that point. I'd moved more into sort of healthcare education, but I was still nursing. And an opportunity, my job changed, and it was sort of like, I'm not sure this is kind of what I want to do anymore. And at that point, it was like God kind of brought everything together at the right time. At that point, I found out what a nutritional therapist was, and I found a course. And I felt like God was like, this is a now or never moment. You need to leave the NHS and you need to leave now. So the NHS is our National Health Service. That's who I was working for. And I was like, but why? I can leave it a few months. And I felt God's like, no, you've got to go now. And I was like, oh, all right then. So I did. And then COVID hit 6 months later. And I think if I'd have been still in the NHS, I'd still be there. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today. So it all sort of came together at the right time. But yeah, and also that desire to support individuals living sort of with that exhaustion, wanting them to have more energy, kept me going through uni. So I did a master's level qualification, and it took 3 years. Through COVID, it was exhausting, but just that desire, I think, from what I had seen in myself and the changes that good nutrition had made me just sort of realize that I can't give up. I've got to keep going because the world needs to know about the power of good nutrition.
Mm. So you're going to school during COVID for 3 years, and were you
Mm.
working at the same time too?
Yeah, so I ran another business doing first aid training as a way of helping me pay for school.
Wow.
Um, so yeah, it was a lot, but I graduated last year and then launched my nutritional therapy business. So I'm now a registered nutritional therapist, and I launched that in August.
Wow. Wow. I'm sure that first aid business was pretty good. That was able to sustain you for 3 years.
Yes, it definitely helped. I mean, I'm still running it a little bit, but that's sort of winding down at the moment. So yeah, no, I'm very thankful. Like that was definitely a provision from God
Mm,
that kept me going through
nice.
school. Yeah.
Yeah. And speaking about energy and
Mm.
you know, and chronic fatigue and so forth, um, it's very important because, people might even say, I'm a plan this, I want to do this, I want to do that, but if we don't have the certain nutrition foods in our system, there's only so much our body can do,
Yeah.
just, speaking of basketball or sports,
Yeah,
I
sure.
mean, if we don't have the certain uh, um, things in our body, we're not be able to perform the way we want to. Right.
Definitely.
At
Yeah,
some
yeah.
point, the body's gonna, break down or stop. That's how
Yeah.
injuries happen sometimes.
or just weird injuries might just happen, out of nowhere. No one touched them, and they just. So
Yeah.
yeah, just so I saw, it's good that you're doing, what you're doing as a, the nutritional therapist and health coach and so forth. And yeah, so about your business, you know, you said it was a provision from God. At the same time, He does give us provisions and visions and so forth. But what made you have the faith to grab it? What? How did you know it was gonna work?
I didn't know it was going to work, if I'm honest. Um, I think I just knew, I think over the years, this desire has just kept growing, and I've just lent into God. And I knew that this, like, it's never gone away. So I've carried this dream for years, really, to do
Mm,
what I'm doing. And it's changed over the years. Like, it's not, when I first, this spark appeared, it was very different to the vision I have now, but there has been a very similar vision over the years. And I think that's just kept me going. And I just figured that, well, I'll just give this a go. If it doesn't work, I'll find something else. But yeah, I don't know if I really felt that it could or wouldn't work. I just was like, well, this is what God said. So I'm going to trust him because I've trusted him in the past and things have worked out. So I'm going to trust that whilst this feels really scary and there's a huge amount of elements to this, because I was leaving a stable job to do this, but I also knew that I was a bit miserable where I was and I wasn't happy. And this desire wasn't going away. So I figured, well, if it's not going away, I might as well just take a leap. Because at that point, I was like, well, I've still got my nursing registration. So if I feel that it's not working out, I'll just go back to nursing. I mean, now I don't have it anymore because it ran out, but the nutrition's working, so it's fine. But I guess I had a backup plan, but I just sort of figured, well, we'll take a leap, we'll see what happens. And it wasn't without its scary moments, but I just kept clinging to the fact that I trust God. I trust He has good plans for my life. I trust that I'm safe to follow them. And
yes.
sometimes you've just got to take a leap. Sometimes it's like you won't have all the answers, and I still don't have all the answers, but I just I'm like, one foot in front of the other. And the verse that comes to mind is, I think it's in Matthew, where he talks about the sparrows and how this God looks after the sparrows, but how much more are we to God than sparrows? And I just kept thinking, do you know what? God has always provided, through the chronic fatigue when I couldn't, like, my income severely dropped because I couldn't work in the same way. God provided, and I was reminded, what? I lived through chronic fatigue. I lived through those challenges, and God always provided what I need. It might not be what I want, but it was what I needed. So I'm going to trust that if God's asking me to go back to university, retrain, that He will provide what I need. And it has been at some points a very baby steps change. Like, I've literally had to be like, just cling to that thought that God will provide, He will provide, because there has been some incredible challenges through the last 3 years. But here I am.
Wow.
Just kept
Wow.
going. Sometimes that's all you can do, is just put one foot in front of the other and just go, he's got me, he's got me, I'll get through this.
Wow. Wow. It's pretty good. And for the folks that maybe want to be in your position and do what you
Sure.
do as a nutritional therapist, what steps can they take? And I know you
Yeah.
did it through school. Is there any other way that they can do it or no?
Not in the UK. Well, it's so I'm not so sure how it works in Canada. So I'll just share a little bit sort of in the UK that anyone technically can call themselves a nutritional therapist. It's not a protected title. However, I did quite an intensive course because that's what I felt God wanted me to do. And I've got myself registered because I feel that's really important, because it shows that, I'm a professional, I've reached a certain level of standards. And I would say with anything that you want to do, like health coaching, nutrition, or nutritional therapy, do your research. find out, like, if you've got a regulatory body, go and see the courses that they advise, because realistically it's better that you take the time and money, and I know it often costs more money to do these courses properly, but it's better, I would say, in the long run, because you're going to be a better practitioner and be able to deliver better results for your clients when you've gone and got appropriate training for the role, if that makes sense.
Okay. Okay, cool. So we gotta know what we want to do and do a research and take that specific course.
Yeah, and you can pray and seek wisdom. Like when I was looking for courses for nutritional therapy, this one particular course came up that I ended up doing, but I did a lot of reading around. I like prayed into like that I would have the wisdom to know the right course to pick. Um, and actually it was the right, I mean, it was a tough course, but it was the right course for me. Though sometimes I do joke with God, I'm like, why did I have to do such a hard course? And he's like, because I needed you to be trained to that level. And I'm like, all right, thanks.
Yeah. Sometimes you don't understand God, but He has a plan for
Yeah.
everything and for all of us. Um, what services does your give does your business give? What
So
type?
as, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, so for me, it's all about looking at diet and lifestyle. So what I tend to do, it's like being a mechanic. I know I've gone back to the car analogy again, but it's like a mechanic for your body. So whilst I do give dietary advice, it's kind of beyond that. It's often looking at, say somebody comes to me, they're struggling with their energy levels, they're sluggish, they're bloated, they've got brain fog, and it's sort of unpicking what could be causing that, and then putting in dietary advice, lifestyle advice, like exercise that's appropriate, reduce stress, better sleep, bringing it all together, because I believe in body, mind, and spirit. So it's more of a like deeper dive. So whilst I can give you a diet plan and say eat this, it's like a deeper dive behind the scenes to get to the root cause, or hopefully get to the root cause of what's making you feel not 100%, and then put things in to create balance within the body.
Okay, cool. Can you give people your info, your website, and so
Sure.
forth?
Yeah. So to find me, you can find me at Nourish to Soar. So that's www.nourishtosor.co.uk. Or on Instagram and Facebook, you can find me at Nourish to Soar.
Okay, there you have it. All right, appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Yep.